Welcome to Biden's, not Biden's Animal Farm. It's actually Harris Biden Democrat Animal Farm, aka Biden's Animal Farm. I changed it because Biden's not running for president now. It's Harris. She's being installed. Harris, what is her race? What is her ethnicity? Is she DEI hired? Who is she? Where does she stand on the issues? Before you get into this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment on these videos. And please keep it nice, because I'm going to say some things in there that might upset some people. Okay, because I'm going to state how I feel when it comes to Kamala Harris, her race, ethnicity. Where does she stand on some of these issues? There's going to be a lot of more videos of her, because we are being lied to constantly. She's hiding like Biden. She's doing the same campaign as Biden. She's not talking to reporters. She's being covered by the media. She's erasing her things. You need to know who the heck she is. Okay, she is not a good candidate, but she's an African-American woman, okay? Kamala Harris was born in Oakland, but her father was from Jamaica, a Marxist economics teacher. Her mother was born in India. They met each other at law school in California, and she was born in India, so she's Indian. She was born in Oakland, California, like I said. So when it comes down to it, she identifies herself as an American Indian or African American. And then I really don't know what she's going to say to herself about this. So now it comes to race and ethnicity. She identifies herself in the Democratic Party as an African American woman. Race is very hard to characterize. There's so much inbreeding with it. I'm also going to show you a video. Hopefully I only speak about 4 minutes, 2 more minutes. Check out the video from Useful Charts. That is a very good one. It's about race and ethnicity. It goes more in detail with that. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm German, Irish, English, Scottish. But I was born here and I'm an American. That's what she should say to herself. Be good. Be true to your heritage. Be true. I always support that. As a history teacher, I had all my students do a genealogy study of where they came from and who they are. That was important to me, so they know where they came from. Not to define them, just to know where they came from. So you can make your decisions. Check out the video for the race and ethnicity. Where does she stand on the issues? She is a socialist liberal senator. She is a socialist liberal DA. How did she get the jobs in the DA of San Francisco? That's the Willie Brown story. So did she earn it? Was she a DEI hire? Yes, she was a DEI hire, because Joe Biden checked out the box. And I thoroughly believe this is being planned, because Biden, they can't cover for Biden anymore. She's young, she's energetic, she's there. So did she earn it? I don't think so, because she's being installed by the Democratic Party, period. Which is what they did in the big cities, when all these people came in from Ellis Island, things like that. That's what the big bosses do. The Democratic Party is selling you out, Democrats. And I'm not one. I'm thinking about becoming an independent more every single day. When it comes down to it, these people lie through their teeth to get their person elected. And if she gets elected, we're doomed. We got things all over the world that she can't hang. What does an Asian mentality think of her? Ask them. I'm not going to say that. Okay? She was installed. She's being freaking coronated. And anybody that says differently is deluding themselves to beyond belief. She is not ready. That's just my opinion. So, please check out this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. 423.
I'm going to show you the family tree of Kamala Harris, a prominent U.S. politician
talking through
from
this
a
video
mixed
as
race
well.
family.
Overview,
I'll also be
overview.
talking about the terms race and ethnicity and how they come into play when researching one's family tree. Kamala's father is Donald Harris. He was born in Jamaica, but immigrated to the US, where he became a professor of economics at Stanford University. According to Professor Harris, the two individuals who had the biggest influence on him during his upbringing in Jamaica were his two grandmothers, known as Miss Crishy and Miss Iris. Miss Crishy owned and operated a dry goods store in Brownstown. The name Brownstown comes from its founder, Hamilton Brown, an Irish slave owner, who, according to Donald, was an ancestor of Crishy Brown. This fact made the rounds last year when several far-right media outlets tried to make Kamala Harris look like a hypocrite by claiming that her Jamaican ancestors were a bunch of slave owners.
It was historically accurate.
Like I mentioned in my video on Barry Gordy, most Black Americans have at least one white male somewhere on their family tree because of the sad fact that during the period of American slavery, slavers often raped females whom they enslaved. But
that's
this
a historical
doesn't change
fact,
the fact that far more people on their tree were likely on the other side of that equation, as enslaved individuals of African descent. So how these facts are supposed to make Kamala look bad is beyond
But that's her history.
Anyhow, let's now look at the other side of her family. Her mother is Shyamala Gopalan.
Indian.
She was born in Chennai, India, but like Donald, immigrated to the U.S. The two actually met during their graduate studies at UC Berkeley, and they were both involved in the U.S. Civil Rights Movement. But whereas Donald studied economics, Shyamala studied medicine and became a cancer researcher. As I mentioned in my recent video on the Marathas, India is more of a continent than a country, and therefore there's not really a single ethnicity known as Indian. In Shyamala's case, it would be more accurate to say that her ethnicity was Tamil. This means that ethnically, Kamala is half Tamil. However, according to Kamala herself, she primarily identifies simply as Black. Which brings me to the topic of race and ethnicity.
Could be anything.
Let's look at the term ethnicity first.
There you go.
Generally speaking, ethnicity refers to a people group that lived in a particular region for a long period of time, and thus ended up sharing a common language, history, and culture. Nowadays, DNA testing companies claim to give people an ethnic breakdown of their ancestry, but really what they're doing is just using a set of genetic samples from around the world to estimate the regions that a person's ancestors likely came from. So in this sense, ethnicity has also come to mean regional genetic variation, and thus has at least some sort of basis in science. The important thing to keep in mind, though, is that the total number of ethnic groups existing in the world today numbers in the hundreds, if not thousands. And the exact way in which all the various ethnic groups are divided and named will vary depending on which research team is doing the work. Race, however, is something different. According to most experts today, race is simply a social construct and has no real basis in science. Although people have tried, you cannot scientifically determine race by grading skin tone, by measuring skulls, or by testing blood. The closest thing you can get to race by using genetics is to simply organize ethnic groups by continent. So, for example, we can say that a person has primarily European ancestry, African ancestry, Asian ancestry, etc. But even there, it gets complicated because genetic variation doesn't always match neatly with continental lines. For example, North African DNA is quite distinct from Sub-Saharan African DNA, and South Asian DNA is quite distinct from East Asian DNA. So when we try to match genetic variation with very specific color words like white, black, brown, yellow, red, etc., the science of it all fades away very quickly.
That's why the left in the Democratic Party, the leftist part of the Democratic Party, is doing
tend to be based more on prejudice and stereotypes.
Because throughout history, they have been screwed over.
So that's why it is usually said that race
but just
is
because
a
your
social
past you've been screwed over does that you
Most
get a better
of the time,
leg up
a
than somebody
person's
else.
race
We
is
were
simply
based
a
on a
combination
meritocracy,
of how that person
not
chooses
this
to define
DEI
themselves,
stuff.
and perhaps even more so, how
Diversity,
society
equity, and
chooses
inclusion,
to define
which
them.
I thoroughly agree.
In America, a person with
It's not
one
based
black
on merit,
parent and
you
one
didn't earn
white parent, like Barack Obama, for example,
Mm-hmm.
is generally considered to be black. This is because society tends to treat that person as being a member of whichever race is less privileged in that society.
What
because of
is
this,
privilege?
mixed race people usually end up self-identifying with the less privileged group. In other words, unfortunately, race is often something that is defined by racism and society's tendency to racialize people. This is why we end up with complicated issues such as passing and discussions on whether so-and-so is black enough. So, am I saying that we should be blind to race?
No.
Absolutely not. Ignoring race would be ignoring the fact that some people still get treated differently than other people, simply because of social constructs related to skin color.
And the media and how they interpret that.
This is particularly important when it comes to African Americans. Long before the advent of DNA tests, people of European descent in the Americas have had the privilege of being able to define their ethnicity in more precise terms. For example, I've long known that my ancestry is primarily a mix of English, German, and Irish. However, because of the long history of American slavery, Black Americans often don't have this privilege. They simply know that their ancestors came from Africa.
I don't agree with that
they are stuck
statement,
with simply
but I'll leave that to another video.
Black. So the bottom line is that race is still an important concept when it comes to understanding history and for making policy decisions today. But don't think that it can be determined simply by looking at a person's family tree or their DNA results. It's just not that simple.
That's true.
Anyway, back to Kamala Harris's tree. Her maternal grandfather was named P.V. Gopalan. He was a lifelong civil servant, holding major government positions in both India and Zambia. He, along with his wife and children, were Hindus, and therefore Kamala grew up attending a Hindu temple as well as a Black Baptist church. Today, Kamala identifies primarily as Christian. However, she also has ties to Judaism. That's because in 2014, she married Douglas Emhoff.
Does she support Israel?
He has a son and a daughter from a previous marriage. And so, although Kamala has not had any children of her own, she does have 2 stepchildren. As for siblings, Kamala has one sister named Maya, who is married to Tony West. Maya, like Kamala, became a lawyer and is currently also an MSNBC contributor. Tony, also a lawyer, was Associate Attorney General under Barack Obama and currently is the Chief Legal Officer for Uber. Maya has a daughter named Mina, who was born when Maya was in high school. Tony is her stepdad. She, like the rest of the family, is a lawyer, but recently she also authored a book called Kamala and Maya's Big Idea. So that was a look at the family tree of Kamala Harris, potentially the first woman to hold the position of Vice President of the United States.
Potentially
and
the
potentially
president.
The first Black American and American of Indian descent to hold this position as well. Thanks for watching.